Prince Lazar Hrebeljanović was a medieval Serbian ruler, who created the largest and most powerful state on the territory of the disintegrated Serbian Empire. Lazar's state, known in historiography as Moravian Serbia, comprised the basins of the Great Morava, West Morava, and South Morava Rivers. Lazar ruled it from 1373 until his death in 1389. Lazar's political program was the reunification of the disintegrated Serbian state under him as the direct successor of the Nemanjić dynasty, which ended in 1371 after 2 centuries of rule over Serbia. Lazar had a full support from the Serbian Church for this program, but powerful Serbian nobles did not recognize him as the supreme ruler. In the Battle of Kosovo fought on the 15th of June 1389, Lazar led the army which confronted a massive invading army of the Ottoman Empire commanded by Sultan Murad I. Both Prince Lazar and Sultan Murad lost their lives in the battle. Although the battle was tactically inconclusive, the mutual heavy losses were devastating only for the Serbs. Lazar's widow, Milica, who ruled as regent for her minor son Stefan Lazarević, Lazar's successor, accepted Ottoman suzerainty in the summer of 1390. Lazar is venerated in the Orthodox Christian Church as a martyr and saint, and is highly regarded in Serbian history, culture and tradition of the Serbs. In Serbian epic poetry he is called Tsar Lazar. Lazar was born in around 1329 in the fortress of Pralpak, 13 kilometers southeast of the town of Novo Beograd, which was an important mining center of the medieval Serbian state. Lazar's family hereditarily held Pralpak, which together with the nearby fortress of Prizrenac protected the mines and settlements around Novo Beograd. Lazar's father, Pribak, was a logothete at the court of Stefan Dušan, a member of the Nemanjić dynasty who was the Serbian king from 1331 to 1346, and the Serbian Tsar from 1346 to 1355. The rank of logothete was relatively modest in the hierarchy of the Serbian court. Dušan became the ruler of Serbia by dethroning his father, King Stefan Dušan III. Dušan then awarded petty nobles who supported him in his rebellion by elevating them to higher positions in the feudal hierarchy. In this way Pribak became a logothete. According to Mavro Orban, 16th-century Ragusan historian, the family name of Pribak and Lazar was Hrebeljanović. Though Orban's source for this claim is unknown, it has been widely accepted in historiography. Courtier Pribak was awarded by Dušan in yet another way. His son Lazar was granted the position of Stavilak at the ruler's court. The Stavilak had a role in the ceremony at the royal table, though he could be entrusted with jobs that had nothing to do with court ritual. The title of Stavilak ranked as the last in the hierarchy of the Serbian court. It was, nevertheless, quite prestigious as it enabled its holder to be very close to the ruler. Stavilak Lazar married Milica, according to later genealogies, created in the first half of the 15th century. Milica was a daughter of Prince Vratko, a great-grandson of Vukan. The latter man was a son of Grand Prince Stefan Nemanjić, the founder of the Nemanjić dynasty which ruled Serbia from 1166 to 1371. Vukan's descendants are not mentioned in any known source that predates the 15th century genealogies. Tsar Dušan suddenly died in 1355 at the age of about 47 and was succeeded by his 20-year-old son Stefan Dušan. Lazar remained a Stavilak at the court of the new Tsar. Dušan's death was followed by the stirring of separatist activity in the Serbian Empire. Epirus and Thessaly in its southwest broke away by 1359. The same happened with Branicevo and Kučevo, the empire's northeastern regions controlled by the Rastislanic family, who recognized the suzerainty of King Louis I of Hungary. The rest of the Serbian state remained loyal to young Tsar Euros. Even within it, however, powerful Serbian nobles were asserting more and more independence from the Tsar's authority. Euros was weak and unable to counteract these separatist tendencies, becoming an inferior power in the state he nominally ruled. He relied on the strongest Serbian noble, Prince Vojislav Voljanović of Zahamlija. Vojislav started as a stavilak at the court of Tsar Dušan, but by 1363 he controlled a large region from Mount Rudnik in central Serbia to Konoval on the Adriatic coast, and from the upper reaches of the Drina River to northern Kosovo. The next in power to Prince Vojislav were the Balsic brothers, Strasimir, Đurić, and Balsa II. By 1363, they gained control over the region of Zeta, which coincided for the most part with present-day Montenegro. In 1361, Prince Vojislav started a war with the Republic of Ragusa over some territories. Ragusans then asked most eminent persons in Serbia to use their influence to stop these hostilities harmful for the both sides. In 1362 the Ragusans also applied to Stavilak Lazar and presented him with 3 bolts of cloth. A relatively modest present as it was, it testifies that Lazar was perceived as having some influence at the court of Tsar Euros. The peace between Prince Vojislav and Ragusa was signed in August of 1362. Stavilak Lazar is mentioned as a witness in a July 1363 document by which Tsar Euros approved an exchange of lands between Prince Vojislav and Selnik Muso. The latter man had been married to Lazar's sister, Dragana, since at least 1355. Musa's title, Selnik, was of a higher rank than Stavilak. Minor regional lord Lazar's activities in the period between 1363 and 1371 are poorly documented in sources. Apparently, he left the court of Tsar Euros in 1363 or 1365. He was about 35 years of age, and had not advanced beyond the rank of Stavilak. Prince Vojislav, the strongest regional lord, suddenly died in September of 1363. The Nemanjić brothers, Vukasin and Jovan Ugljaza, became the most powerful nobles in the Serbian Empire. They controlled lands in the south of the empire, primarily in Macedonia. In 1365, Tsar Euros crowned Vukasin king, making him his co-ruler. Approximately at the same time, Jovan Ugljaza was promoted to the rank of despot. A nephew of Prince Vojislav, Nikola Altomanović, gained control by 1368 of most of the territory of his late uncle. Nikola was about 20 at the time. In this period, Lazar became independent and began his career as a regional lord. It is not clear how his territory developed, but its nucleus was certainly not at his patrimony, the fortress of Prilpak, which had been taken by Vukasin. The nucleus of Lazar's territory was somewhere in the area bordered by the Nemanjić in the south, Nikola Altomanović in the west, and the Rastislaliks in the north. The book Il Regno degli Slavi by Mavro Orban, published in Pesaro in 1601, describes events in which Lazar was a main protagonist. Since this account is not corroborated by other sources, some historians doubt its veracity. According to Orban, Nikola Altomanović and Lazar persuaded Tsar Euros to join them in their attack on the Nemanjić brothers. The clash between the two groups of Serbian lords took place on the Kosovo field in 1369. Lazar withdrew from the battle soon after it began. His allies fought on, but were defeated by the Nemanjić. Altomanović barely escaped with his life, while Euros was captured and briefly imprisoned by the brothers. There are indications that the co-rulers Tsar Euros and King Vukasin Nemanjić went their separate ways 2 years prior to the alleged battle. In 1370 Lazar took from Altomanović the town of Rudnik, a rich mining center. This could have been a consequence of Altomanovic's defeat the year before. In any case, Altomanović could have quickly recovered from this defeat with the help of his powerful protector, the Kingdom of Hungary. Prince. It is uncertain since when Lazar had borne the title of Knez, which is usually translated as prince. The earliest source that testifies to Lazar's new title is a Ragusan document in Latin, dated the 22nd of April 1371, in which he is referred to as Comes Lazarus. Ragusans used comes as a Latin translation of the Slavic title Knez. The same document relates that Lazar held Rudnik at the time. In medieval Serbia, Knez was not a precisely defined term, and the title had no fixed rank in the feudal hierarchy. Its rank was high in the 12th century, but somewhat lower in the 13th century and the first half of the 14th century. During the reign of Tsar Euros, when the central authority declined, the high prestige of the title of Knez was restored. It was borne by the mightiest regional lord, Vojislav Voljanović, until his death in 1363. Rise to power. The Ottoman Turks took Gallipoli from Byzantium in 1354. This town at the southeastern edge of the Balkan Peninsula was the first Ottoman possession in Europe. Further, the Ottomans expanded further into the Balkans, and by 1370 they reached Serbian lands, specifically the territory of the Miranjević in eastern Macedonia. An army of the Miranjević brothers entered the territory controlled by the Ottomans and clashed with them in the Battle of Marica on the 26th of September, 1371. The Ottomans annihilated the Serbian army. Both King Vukašin and despot Jovan Uglješa were killed in the battle. The Vukašin's son and successor, King Marko, became the co-ruler of Tsar Euros. In December 1371, Euros died childless, marking the end of the Nemanjić dynasty, which had ruled Serbia for 2 centuries. The ruler of the Serbian state, which had in fact ceased to exist as a whole, was formerly King Marko Miranjević. Powerful Serbian lords, however, did not even consider recognizing him as the supreme ruler. They attacked the Miranjević lands in Macedonia and Kosovo. Prizren and Pec were taken by the Balsic brothers, the lords of Zeta. Prince Lazar took Pristina and Novo Beardio, recovering also his patrimony, the fortress of Prilpac. The Dragas brothers, Jovan and Constantine, created their own domain in eastern Macedonia. King Marko was eventually left only a relatively small area in western Macedonia centered on the town of Prilep. Jovan Uglješa's widow, Jelena, who became a nun and took the monastic name of Jefimia, lived on with Prince Lazar and his wife Milica. After the demise of the Miranjević brothers, Nikola Altomanović emerged as the most powerful noble on the territory of the fragmented Serbian state. While Lazar was busy taking Pristina and Novo Beardio, Nikola recovered Rudnik from him. By 1372, Prince Lazar and Tvrtk Kotromanic, the Ban of Bosnia, formed an alliance against Nikola. According to Ragusan sources, the Republic of Venice mediated an agreement between Nikola Altomanović and Đurić Balsic about their joint attack on Ragusa. Nikola was to gain Pelja Sakinstan, the Ragusan parts of the region of Zahumlja, which was divided between Nikola's domain, Bosnia, and Ragusa. Louis I, the King of Hungary, sternly warned Nikola and Đurić to keep off Ragusa, which had been a Hungarian vassal since 1358. By conspiring with Venice, a Hungarian enemy, Nikola lost the protection of Hungary. Lazar, preparing for the confrontation with Nikola, promised King Louis to be his loyal vassal if the king was on his side. Prince Lazar and Ban Tvrtko attacked and defeated Nikola Altomanović in 1373. Nikola was captured in his stronghold, the town of Uzis, and given in charge to Lazar's nephews, the Music Brothers, who blinded him. Lazar accepted the suzerainty of King Louis. Bantvtko annexed to his state the parts of Zahumlia which were held by Nikola, including the upper reaches of the Drina and Lim rivers, as well as the districts of Onogost and Gago. Prince Lazar and his in-laws Vuk Branković and Selnik Musa took most of Nikola's domain. The Vuk Branković, who married Lazar's daughter Mara in around 1371, acquired Sjenica and part of Kosovo. Lazar's subordinate Selnik Musa governed an area around Mount Kopaonik jointly with his sons Stefan and Lazar, known as the Music Brothers. Juraj Balsic grabbed Nikola's littoral districts Drachovica, Konoval, and Trebinia. Bantvtko would take these lands in 1377. In October of that year, Tvrtko was crowned king of the Serbs, Bosnia, Maritime, and Western areas. Although Tvrtko was a Catholic, his coronation was performed at the Serbian monastery of Mileseva, or at some other prominent Serbian Orthodox center in his state. King Tvrtko asserted pretensions to the Serbian throne and the heritage of the Nemanjić dynasty. He was a distant blood relative to the Nemanjićs. Hungary and Ragusa recognized Tvrtko as king, and there are no indications that Prince Lazar had any objections to the new title of his ally Kotromanic. This, on the other hand, does not mean that Lazar recognized Tvrtko as his overlord. King Tvrtko, however, had no support from the Serbian Church, the only cohesive force in the fragmented Serbian state. Major lord in Serbia after the demise of Nikola Altomanović, Prince Lazar emerged as the most powerful lord on the territory of the former Serbian Empire. Some local nobles resisted Lazar's authority, but they eventually submitted to the prince. That was the case with Nikola Zojic on Mount Rudnik and Novak Belikvic in the valley of the Toplica River. Lazar's large and rich domain was a refuge for Orthodox Christian monks who fled from areas threatened by the Islamic Ottomans. This brought fame to Lazar on Mount Athos, the center of Orthodox monasticism. The Serbian Church had since 1350 been in schism with the Patriarchate of Constantinople, the central authority of the Orthodox Christianity. A Serb monk from Mount Athos named Izija, who distinguished himself as a writer and translator, encouraged Lazar to work on the reconciliation of the two patriarchates. Through efforts of Lazar and Izija, an ecclesiastical delegation was sent to the Constantinopolitan Patriarch to negotiate the reconciliation. The delegation was successful, and in 1375 the Serbian Church was readmitted into communion with the Patriarchate of Constantinople. The last patriarch of the Serbian Church in schism, Sava IV, died in April of 1375. In October of the same year, Prince Lazar and Juraj Balsic convened a synod of the Serbian Church in Peć. Patriarch Jefrem was selected for the new head of the church. He was a candidate of Constantinople, or a compromise selection from among the candidates of powerful nobles. Patriarch Jefrem abdicated in 1379 in favor of Spiridon, which is explained by some historians as having resulted from the influence of an undercurrent in the church associated with Lazar. The prince and Patriarch Spiridon had an excellent cooperation. The church was obliged to Lazar for his role in ending the schism with Constantinople. Lazar also granted lands to monasteries and built churches. His greatest legacy as a church builder is the monastery of Ravanica, completed in 1381. Sometime earlier, he built the Church of St. Stephen in his capital, Kruševac. The church would become known as Lazarica. After 1379, he built the Gornjak monastery in Braničevo. He was one of the founders of the Romanian monasteries in Tismana and Vodita. He funded some construction works in two monasteries on Mount Athos, the Serbian Hilandar and the Russian St. Panteleimon. Lazar extended his domain to the Danube in 1379, when the prince took Kučevo and Braničevo, ousting the Hungarian vassal Radic Branković Rastislavic from these regions. King Louis had earlier granted to Lazar the region of Makva, or at least a part of it, probably when the prince accepted the king's suzerainty. This suggests that Lazar, who was himself a vassal of Louis, had rebelled, and indeed Louis is known to have been organizing a campaign against Serbia in 1378. However, it is not known against whom Louis was intending to act. It is also possible that it was Radic Branković Rastislavic and that Lazar's attack had the approval of Louis. Lazar's state, known in literature as Moravian Serbia, was larger than the domains of the other lords on the territory of the former Serbian Empire. It also had a better organized government and army. The state comprised the basins of the Great Morava, West Morava, and South Morava Rivers, extending from the source of South Morava northward to the Danube and Sava Rivers. Its northwestern border ran along the Drina River. Besides the capital Kraševac, the state included important towns of Nis and Uzis, as well as Novo Beograd and Rudnik, the two richest mining centers of medieval Serbia. Of all the Serbian lands, Lazar's state lay furthest from Ottoman centers, and was least exposed to the ravages of Turkish raiding parties. This circumstance attracted immigrants from Turkish-threatened areas, who built new villages and hamlets in previously poorly inhabited and uncultivated areas of Moravian Serbia. There were also spiritual persons among the immigrants, which stimulated the revival of old ecclesiastical centers and the foundation of new ones in Lazar's state. The strategic position of the Morava basins contributed to Lazar's prestige and political influence in the Balkans due to the anticipated Turkish offensives. In charters issued between 1379 and 1388, the prince named himself as Stefan Lazar. Stefan was the name borne by all Nemanjić rulers, leading the name to be regarded as a title of Serbian rulers. TVRTKO added Stefan to his name when he was crowned king of the Serbs and Bosnia. From a linguistic point of view, Lazar's charters show traits of the Kosovo dialect of the Serbian language. In the charters, Lazar referred to himself as the autocrator of all the Serbian land, or the autocrator of all the Serbs. Autocrator, self-ruler in Greek, was an epithet of the Byzantine emperors. The Nemanjić kings adopted it and applied it to themselves in its literal meaning to stress their independence from Byzantium, whose supreme suzerainty they nominally recognized. In the time of Prince Lazar, the Serbian state experienced the loss of some of its lands, the division of the remaining lands among regional lords, the end of the Nemanjić dynasty, and the Turkish attacks. These circumstances raised the question of the continuation of the Serbian state. Lazar's answer to this question could be read in the titles he applied to himself in his charters. Lazar's ideal was the reunification of the Serbian state under him as the direct successor of the Nemanjić. Lazar had the full support of the Serbian Church for this political program. However, powerful regional lords, the Balsics in Zeta, Vuk Branković in Kosovo, King Marko Constantine Dragić, and Radoslav Lapun in Macedonia, ruled the domains independent from Prince Lazar. Beside that, the three lords in Macedonia became Ottoman vassals after the Battle of Marica. The same happened to Byzantium and Bulgaria. By 1388, Ottoman suzerainty was also accepted by George Strasimirovich Balsic, the Lord of Zeta. A Turkish raiding party, passing unobstructed through territories of Ottoman vassals, broke into Moravian Serbia in 1381. It was routed by Lazar's noble Crep Vukoslavic and Vitomir in the Battle of Dubrovnika, fought near the town of Parasin. In 1386, the Ottoman Sultan Murad I himself led much larger forces that took Nis from Lazar. It is unclear whether the encounter between the armies of Lazar and Murad at Plochnik, a site southwest of Nis, happened shortly before or after the capture of Nis. Lazar rebuffed Murad at Plochnik. After the death of King Louis I in 1382, a civil war broke out in the Kingdom of Hungary. It seems that Lazar participated in the war as one of the opponents of Prince Sigismund of Luxembourg. Lazar may have sent some troops to fight in the regions of Belgrade and Semir. As the Ottoman threat increased and the support for Sigismund grew in Hungary, Lazar made peace with Sigismund, who was crowned Hungarian king in March of 1387. The peace was sealed, probably in 1387, with the marriage of Lazar's daughter Theodora to Nicholas II Garai, a powerful Hungarian noble who supported Sigismund. Around the same year, Lazar's daughter Yelena married Juraj Strasimirovich Bolsik. About a year before, Lazar's daughter Dragana married Alexander, the son of Ivan Shishman, Tsar of Bulgaria. Battle of Kosovo. Since the encounter at Plochnik in 1386, it was clear to Lazar that a decisive battle with the Ottomans was imminent. After he made peace with Sigismund, to avoid troubles on his northern borders, the prince secured military support from Vuk Branković and King Tvrtko. The king of the Serbs and Bosnia was also expecting a bigger Ottoman offensive since his army, commanded by Vlatko Vuković, wiped out a large Turkish raiding party in the Battle of Bilica in 1388. A massive Ottoman army led by Sultan Murad, estimated at between 27,000 and 30,000 men, advanced across the territory of Constantine Dragas and arrived in June of 1389 on the Kosovo field near Pristina, on the territory of Vuk Branković. The Ottoman army was met by the forces commanded by Prince Lazar, estimated at between 12,000 and 30,000 men, which consisted of the prince's own troops, Vuk Branković's troops, and a contingent under the leadership of Vlatko Vuković sent by King Tvrtko. The Battle of Kosovo, the most famous battle in Serbia's medieval history, was fought on the 15th of June 1389. In the fierce fighting and mutual heavy losses, both Prince Lazar and Sultan Murad lost their lives. Information about the course and the outcome of the Battle of Kosovo is incomplete in the historical sources. It can be concluded that, tactically, the battle was a draw. However, the mutual heavy losses were devastating only for the Serbs, who had brought to Kosovo almost all of the fighting strength. Although Serbia under Prince Lazar was an economically prosperous and militarily well-organized state, it could not compare to the Ottoman Empire with respect to the size of territory, population, and economic power. Lazar was succeeded by his eldest son Stefan Lazarevich. As he was still a minor, Moravian Serbia was administered by Stefan's mother, Milica. She was attacked from north, 5 months after the battle, by troops of the Hungarian king Sigismund. When Turkish forces, moving toward Hungary, reached the borders of Moravian Serbia in the summer of 1390, Milica accepted Ottoman suzerainty. She sent her youngest daughter, Olivera, to join the harem of Sultan Bayezid I. Vuk Branković became an Ottoman vassal in 1392. Now all the Serbian lands were under Ottoman suzerainty, except Sarhumlia under King Tvrtko.